We'll just wait for 1 more minute. Let a few are still joining, let them join. Okay, we'll just start the session. So yesterday we were discussing about so yesterday we were discussing about different types of operators, right? So hope you all remembered about arithmetic operators, logical we have done, relational operators we have done. We have done with bitwise operators. Now today we'll discuss about increment and decrement. So the simple definitions which you have to write for increment and decrement is, you all know that very familiarly. Increment is nothing but you are either increasing a value by number of times, and decrement is nothing but you are decreasing the value by number of times. So these increment and decrement are broadly categorized into two things. One is a pre-increment or decrement, and the other one is post. Okay, you have the category of pre-increment, pre-decrement, and post increment and post decrement. So whenever you are writing the definition for pre increment or decrement, the first thing is in pre increment or decrement, first the value is stored, later it is, sorry, first, sorry, it's pre, right? I'm so sorry. Whenever you are talking about pre increment or decrement, first value is updated. That is, when you are talking about updated, either it is increased or it is decreased, and then it is stored. Now, when you're talking about the term post increment or post decrement, first the value is assigned, or the first the value is stored. Later, it is updated. So we'll understand what is this definition actually. So as I said, let's talk about pre-increment or decrement. So when you're talking about pre-increment or decrement, as I mentioned, first you will do the updation. So either you are increasing the value or either you are decreasing the value. So first the value will be updated, later you will assign it. So for example, you will take a small example to explain this. Let's talk. You have taken a variables a equals to 5 and you have taken a variable b. Now you will write a statement b is equals to plus plus a. If I do this, if I try to print the values of a and b, so as pre is telling you that first you do the updation, later you will be assigning the value. So a value is initially 5. Now we are finding the value of b. So when you are seeing, the operation happens from right to left. So here the value of 5, a is read or it has been assigned. Now it will be increased. So a value is automatically first updated. Okay, a value is first updated and then it is stored. So first the value of a is updated, later that value will be assigned to b. So you get, when you try to print the values of a and b, you get it as 6, 6. Okay. So either it is post pre-increment or decrement, the formula or the, what do you say, the definition is similar. Okay, the definition does not change. Either it is increment or decrement. So first you will do the updation, then the value will be stored. Now, for example, let's talk about decrement. Same thing, pre-decrement we are talking. So whenever you do the operations of increment and decrement, definition is must. According to the definition rules itself, your analysis of your expression happens. What does pre says? Pre is always telling you that first update, then assign. Okay, now for example, another example, let's take. For example, I have a value of a as 10. I have written b is equals to minus minus a. Now what happens here? This is what? Pre-decrement. So what happens if you are finding the value of a and what is the value of b if you want to find? First, initially a value is 10. Now when you have tried to know what is the value of b, first you have to do the update. Update means you have to see the operator, either you are increasing or decreasing. In this case, it is pre-decrement. So 10 becomes 9. So b is updated to 9 and it is stored. Even value of a is changed to 9. So when you print the values of a and b, in this case, you get it as 9, 9. Okay, this is about pre and post. Now, for example, if I talk about post increment, the name itself says post. Post means you have to do it later. So whenever you're talking about post increment or decrement, first we are going to assign or store. First the original contents are stored. Later they are being updated. Whenever you are talking a term called as update, either it can be increase or it can be decrease. Let's take an example. Like for example, I have a value of a equals to 8 and I'm finding b. Let's I have written a statement like b equals to a plus plus. So now if I try to find what is the value of a and what is the value of b, In this case, initial value of A is 8. So this definition says this is post. So you're doing the operation later. So first your value of A is assigned to B. So in B you get the value as 8. Later your value of A is being incremented. Okay, so now A value will be modified to 9. So when you're doing post increment, your expected result for the value of A is 9 and B value is still 8 because you're first storing, later we are doing the application of update. Okay, now similarly, if I talk about post decrement, for example, I have a value of A as 12 and I write B is equals to A minus minus the application of finding value of A and what is the value of B. Same thing happens. First, you're assigning the value of A to B. Initially, A value is 12, so 12 is assigned. Later, we are applying the operator minus minus on the initial value of A. A previous value is 12, now it becomes 11. So in this case, you print the value of A as 11 as well as B as 12. Okay, so this is about post increment and post decrement. So whenever you're talking about increment and decrement operators, you are saying increment is to increase a value by one or more times and decrement is to decrease the value of any value by one or more times. Okay, these increment and decrement operators are broadly classified into two categories. One is pre-increment, pre-decrement, and the other one is post increment and the other one is post decrement. Whenever you're talking about increment and decrement now, pre increment and pre decrement definition, you have to write it as, in this case, the value is updated, later we apply the technique of store. Whereas you're talking about post increment or decrement, first value is stored, later initial contents are updated. So here you will take a small example and you have to explain them clearly. Like for you write one example, that's more than enough. Okay, because you will not have enough time if you go on explaining many things. So for example, I'll say post, my God, post increment. If you are writing and example you can write, and here you can take the example for pre-decrement, give the value, or you can do it in both increments so that they will understand the clear difference. Okay, int I gave A is equals to 5 and you want to find B is equals to A plus plus is the first case in this, and here you have A is equals to 5 and you are finding B is equals to plus plus A. Now as you will show it them clearly, initial value of A is 5 and what is value of B. First B value is assigned with A, so B will have 5. Later here A value is plus plus, so now the new value of A is updated to 6. So in this case, if I print A, you get it as 6, and if I print B, I get it as 5. Now when you're talking about pre-increment and decrement, the definition says what? First increase, then you are going to store. First value of A is 5 and you are finding value of B. So the definition says first increment. Later, first pre means always first apply the operator, then you have to store. Post means first store, then apply the operator. So plus plus, now B, this value becomes increased. So A is automatically modified to 6. Now whatever the value you have in A, it is assigned to B. So when you print here, if you observe in pre-increment, you get the value of A as 6 as well as the B value is also 6. But in post, B value is 5 and A value will become 6. Everyone understood with increment and decrement? Anyone has any doubt? I'll just show you execution. If you have any doubt, let me know by the time. I'll just show you a sample example. So very important, this is a programming subject. For everything, if you write the example, you fetch more marks. So if you observe, this is an example for you are applying it for post increment and decrement, right? So so your expected answer is for A you have to get 15 and for B you have to get 14. Can everyone see here? Yes. Is your output visible for all? Okay. So this is about post. Now let's talk about pre. Just we will change the operator. So in this case, for what I told, pre means first change, then apply. So first A value is 14, A is updated to 15. So both B and A will have the value as 15 and 15. That's all. Okay, this small example is more than enough. So hope everyone understood with this. So we'll carry on with the next method. So the next operator is, we have conditional operator. You also call that as ternary operator. Okay. So conditional and ternary operator, the syntactical rules are like this. Expression 1 followed by question mark, which has expression 2 followed by expression 3. This can be nested. Even your conditional operator can be nested. So why are we calling ternary operator is three different expressions can be evaluated for once. Okay, that's the reason they may name it as ternary operator. And why we are calling it as conditional means if definitely your ternary operator is very similar to your if and else block statements. Okay, so conditional operator will hold three expressions. If the first expression 1, exp1 is evaluated for true statement, then expression 2 will be your expected output. If exp1 is evaluated false block, then your expression 3 is your expected output. For this, you can write a simple example like if you want to find largest of two numbers, you will simply write if A is greater than B, you write question mark, you want to print A is greater, otherwise you are going to print B is greater. That's all. This is the small example which you can define for your conditional operator. Conditional operator is very similar to your if block or if and else statement, where in conditional operator you are going to evaluate expression 1. If expression 1 is satisfied for true block, then your expression 2 is your resultant output. If expression 1 is satisfied for false block, then your expression 3 is your resultant output. For this, you can write a basic small example to find largest of two numbers. Then this is your expression. Okay. Then you also will mention your conditional operator can be nested. Nested means you can have more than one condition. Like you can find largest of three numbers using conditional operator. Like how you can do that is, so you can initialize here. I'm just giving you B equals to some 5 and you'll give C is equals to 90. You can simply write a statement. First, you are verifying the condition is A greater than B, and okay. First, you will verify is A greater than B, then you are going to verify A greater than C. Okay. If this condition is satisfied for true, okay, this complete expression is satisfied for true, this is question. Then if these two, that is if the A is larger than B as well as A is greater than C, then you have to print A is greater. So you can simply say A is big. I'm just giving you small things. You can make it flexible according to your choice. Otherwise, suppose if A is greater than B and A greater than C, any of these condition fails, then you will nest it. Now you can write B greater than C. But always observe that for anything, for any conditional operator, you'll have only three different things that is happening. Now suppose if B is greater than C, then you can print B. I'll just print B. I'm not writing complete printf. You can make it as your choice. How you write printf C is largest number or something. Hope everything is fine. Mm. So you can see it is printing C. Why? Because now you see what happens here in this piece of code. I'll explain you 1 minute. Now, when you observe here how this statement has been evaluated or done. Now you have the contents of A as 14, and you have the contents of B as 5, and you have the contents of C as 90. Okay, here we are doing the nesting of statements because one condition. Then how is your syntax? Expression 1 question mark. Then you have expression 2. Then you have expression 3. Depending on your expression 1, either 2 will be executed or 3 will be executed. Okay, both doesn't happen. Suppose if your exp1 is for executing for true statement, then you will be having expression 2 success. If exp1 is evaluated for false, then expression 3 is evaluated. Now the same thing. Now if you think this is as your expression 1, this becomes your exp2 and this becomes your exp3. For this exp3, again you have a block like exp4 and exp5. So if you see, for every condition, you have two things. This becomes exp2 and 3. Okay, in this way, you will be having your ternary operator executed. Now, what happens here is, now first A greater than B, A greater than C is evaluated. So what is value of A? It is 14 and 5. Yes, 14 is greater than 5 and it is logical, and is 14 greater than 90? This is false. Okay, so true and false will always give me a false block. So automatically this becomes XP2. This is 2, this is 3. This is not evaluated. Now your control goes to third location. Now again it is verifying is B greater than C. Now in this case, this becomes 1. This is acting as second expression and this is acting as third one. Now B is greater than C. Is 5 greater than 90? Condition is false. That's the reason it is printing C as largest number. Understood everyone? Understood? Example. So if I change the values like this, suppose if I give minus 90, so in this case you have to print A is big. You will get that. So you'll get as A as big. Suppose if I give here 50, I get B as big. That's all. Okay. So this is the way how your ternary operator, conditional operator will execute. Have you understood now, Siddharth, syntax, how it is executed? Still any doubt? Okay, fine. So we have the next operators as special operators. Special symbols are different, special operators are different. Okay. Special symbols are question mark and so on. We have C special operators. We have two things. The first one is size of, and the other one is comma operator. Okay, so we know that comma is acting as a separator between one or more statements. Whenever you have multiple statements to be separated or whenever you have multiple expressions to be separated, then we generally use your comma, right? Then what is the size of operator does? Always size of operator returns an integer value. Its expected output is always an integer value. What is this integer value? It always talks about how much amount of memory is allocated for a particular variable. Memory allocated for a variable initialized. Okay, so size of operator always returns an integer value. What is that value is? It will always talks about how much amount of memory is been allocated for the given variable which has been initialized. Like for example, if I say int a is equals to 4 and I say char ch. Okay, you can write some line here if you want. If you are finding size of A and if you are finding size of CH, okay, let's give this as 400. Okay, so what does it do is size of operator always fetch the variable data type. What is the variable data type of A? It is integer. How many bytes of memory does integer occupy? So it depends on your processor. Either it is 2 or 4. Depends on the type of processor which you are using. If it is a 16-bit processor, you get 2. If it is 60, excuse me, if it is 32-bit processor, definitely you'll get it as 4 bytes, right? So here you will A, if your processor is 4 bytes long, you get 4. And character ch is of type character. For character variables, always the memory allocation is 1. So your return value will be 4 comma 1. Size of operator will talk about how much amount or how many number of bytes of memory is allocated for the variable which has been declared or initialized. Always size of operator returns an integer value only, because your memory is only of type integer mode. Okay, you don't have any other. That is about size of operator. So you can see here one example. Let's do that. So we'll do this example. So it is not talking about what is the value we are initializing. It only tells about memory allocation. Printf A is equals to integer, so percentile D, comma, size of is one single word, size of variable A. Printf ch is equals to percentile D, size of ch. Okay. Sorry. So A is an integer variable, so I got 4 as my output. That is number of memory blocks or number of bytes of memory allocated for A variable is 4, and number of bytes of memory that is allocated for CH is 1. This is about your size of operator. Okay. Then what is comma? We'll see. You all know that you cannot initialize more than one value. So suppose if I parenthesize this, your comma is capable of doing that. So your value will be 16. So whenever you are using comma operator not only act as separator. Suppose if you want to initialize multiple values for a variable, you can do it still, but you have to use the priority operation. And comma operator with assignment, it always happens from right to left. Your associativity is always from right to left. Okay. So now what happens is, suppose if I don't parenthesis this, your assignment operator will throw you an error. Multiple values cannot be initialized. So you can see expected identifier. It is showing you an error. Whenever you have a numerical constant of multiple things, then it will expect definitely. So in this case, what happens? It will allocate you the last most value will be allocated for this variable. So A will be assigned with a value called as 16. So A will be taken as 16. So multiple values can be initialized by using comma, but you have to use parenthesis rule. And the associativity always falls from right to left. The last most value. How many values if you want, you can take it here. You can give like this also. You'll get the last value. Okay. So everyone understood with operators. Anyone has any doubt in operators, please let me know. I will just wind up that operators. So your operators are broadly classified as 8 types. The first one is arithmetic operator, logical operator, relational, ternary operator or conditional operator, increment, decrement operators, bitwise operators. In bitwise you have bitwise and, or, left shift, right shift, exclusive or, and one's complement. And then you have special operators, where in your special operators you have two things. One is comma, and the other one is size of. And you also have assignment operator. Assignment operator is to assign the values for the variables initialized. Now just I showed you example of assignment followed by comma. Okay, assignment is only. So in this assignment you also have another one more thing I forgot to say. In assignment operators we also have one more thing, that is shorthand assignment operators. So shorthand, like for example, if I have an expression a is equals to a plus b, you can make it as simply a plus equals to b, which is very similar to this. You can make your you can reduce the variable usage for more than once. That's all. For example, if I have a equals to a into c, this will become a star equals to c. In assignment, you can explain about shorthand in order to reduce the variable usage less time. And you can write one example one. If a is equals to a plus b is your assignment operator, the shorthand expression for this will become a plus equals to b. Okay. Anyone else have any doubt? Can I move with the next concept? Okay. So next we have different things, that is control structures. Under control structure, we have conditional control structure, selection control structure, and the other one is iterative control structure. Okay, control structures are broadly categorized into three types. The first one is conditional statements, the next one is selection statements, and the third one is, I'm sorry. So first one is conditional control structure, then you have selection control, and the other one is iterative model. So the first one is in conditional, if they ask you to write, explain about conditional control statements, or then you will say conditional control statements. Statements, right? Okay. Your conditional control statements are broadly categorized as simple if, you have if and else block, then you have nested if else, and the other one is else if ladder. You have to explain about all these four things. Conditional control statements are broadly categorized as in this way. First one is simple if, then you have if else, nested if else, and else if ladder. So for any of these expressions, if they don't specify what to do, if they ask you a direct question like explain about conditional control statements or conditional control structures, you will directly have to talk about these four with their syntax rule, and the flow chart by default you have to draw. So I'll just show you example how to do that. Now simple if statement, syntax for simple if you'll write. Okay. So first you will write syntax for this. So you'll have if followed by expression. Okay. In this expression, you will have some statement 1, statement 2, and so on. Close it. Then you'll be having some statement X here. This is your syntax. Okay. Now if you have to draw the similar flowchart. So as you mentioned in flowchart, for if you are going to use rhombus, here you'll write expression. Okay. If you have only one block, okay, for this, if this expression is true, you'll have that statement, whatever you are going to execute. And and also you see here you have statement X here. This statement X will be executed true followed by this. If this is false, only this. Now you understand here, if your expression is true, both your block statements as well as the false block statements parallelly will execute. If suppose your expression is false, only false block statement will execute. Okay, you understand this? How I'm explaining you this? So for example, if I say if I write if A is greater than 0 and B is greater than 0, then I say printf A plus B is equals to percentile D, comma A plus B. Okay, otherwise I write here printf hello. Okay, sorry, I'll make it here slash. Now you observe this simple if statement. So here, if your condition, if you see line number 5, value of 4, A is 4, 4 is greater than 0, as well as value of B is 8, 8 is. So this is true block. So in simple if statements, if true block statement, if your expression is evaluated for true, both the statements inside the loop and outside the loop will parallelly execute. Okay, that is you get the message as the lines which are in line number 7 is executed, as well as line number 9 will be executed. So now you get the value of 12, A plus B is 12, and you also print the message hello. Okay, you get this. Suppose for example, if I write here -4, I only get hello. You only get hello. That if block statement is not executed. Now how this working model is happening is, that is only the flowchart whatever I have shown you. So what is happening is the same thing flowchart whatever I have done. So you'll have your expression. You have your expression here. What is your expression? Is A greater than 0, and you also have the other statement B greater than 0. So if this is true, you have something called as you are trying to print A plus B. You'll write that parallelogram, okay, A plus B, and you have another message like it is hello. So generally we know that if false means only that false statement should happen, if true means only true. But in this case, you don't have any classification. Even if it is true or false, if it is true, you will get A plus B resultant value followed by hello. If it is false, you only get the message as hello. So in order to have the classification between true and false block, then they have shifted to, then they have moved from simple if statement to if else. So always whatever, if you can write if for true block statement and else for false. That is your choice how you want to design your structure. Now the same example how I'll write is, if this condition is true, I will print A plus B. Otherwise, else I'll write and I'll print hello. Okay, for this syntax for if you have to write. First you will write syntax rule. What is the syntax? If some expression, if this expression is true, you'll have some statements, one, so on. Otherwise, again, you'll have some statements. This is the syntax for your if and else. Okay, so when you're talking about simple if and else statement, first your syntax rule you'll write. How you'll write? If some expression, if this expression is satisfied for true, you have some statement 1, so on. Otherwise, you will have some statements. Okay, now flowchart for this will be what? If expression, if this expression is true, I will have some statements executed. Okay, and if this expression is false, I have some expression statements executed. You'll have some statement X, let's take this as statement N. So then you'll have your stop. Okay, so if expression is true, only a statement N is executed and then you'll stop the loop. If expression is false, your statement X is executed and then you're going to stop. So in the previous example, how you can change the lines is a simple thing. Here, instead of printing it separately, hello, I'll only put else. Okay, so what I get, if the statement is true, I get A plus B, otherwise I'll get only hello. So hello is printed now. Suppose if I make it to 4, I only get the value of A and B. Previously you got a plus b as 12 as well as you got the value as hello. That is about your if and else statement. Okay. Now next we have nested of if else. Nested of if else statement. In nested if else statement is nesting is nothing but whenever you have more than one condition check, then you can go for nested if else. So how do you write the syntax for nested if else? If some expression, if this expression is true, again I'll have some expression, then I have some statements. Okay, so might be the outer expression is true and inner might be false. So for this inner expression, I'll have some else block, statement 2, and for this outer if block, again I can have else some statement 3. Okay, so I'll write it in clarity way. Okay, so if exp1, if exp2, if both are true, you will print statement 1. If exp2 this becomes false, you have else block for this, then you are going to have print statement 3. Okay, if the outer loop itself, if outer expression only fails, if the outer expression itself fails, then you will have print statement. What happened? So you will have to print statement 3. Print statement, this is 2, no? Okay, so if exp1 and exp2 are true, then you are going to print statement 1. If exp1 is true and if exp2 is false, then you are going to print statement 2. If exp1 itself is false, then you are going to print statement number 3. So here you can take your example of finding largest of 3 numbers if you want. Okay, you can convert this. So how do you draw the flowchart for this? It's very simple. So how do you draw the flowchart? So first I'll have exp1 question. If this is true, then I have exp2. Then if this is true, then I'll have statement 1. This is true, but this is false. Then I have statement 2. Okay. And if this itself is false, then I have statement 3. So if true, statement 1, then you can stop. Okay. True, false, statement 2, then also stop. If this is itself false, then you'll have statement 3. So there is 3 lines of flow. I'll just show. So if this is one root, true, statement 1, then you're going for stop. Then you have true, then false, statement 2, then the other one is stop. And then you can have directly false, then statement 3, then you can go for stop. In this way, you can execute your nesting of your statements. Okay, this is about your nested of if else statement. Now the next one we have is else if ladder. So else if ladder is similar to multi-way selectional statement. Like for example, you want to find the grade of a student. So first of all, you'll write if expression. If this is true, you'll have statement 1. Else if expression, then you'll have statement 2. Else if expression, then you may have statement 3, and so on. Last will be else you have some statement n. This is your syntax. So how this happens is, if suppose for example I'm finding the result analysis of a student, let's take his average is something called as 40. So first you will write if average is greater than 70, your first statement is print distinction. Okay, so average is 40. So this doesn't happen. So what you will do, you will not stop. You have to go for the next. The next is multiple. Like for example, when you write your multiple choice, you will have an option A, B, C, D. If not A, you will go for B. If not B, you will go for C. Then you will go for D, right? When you are doing your mathematical calculations. The same thing that happens with your else if ladder. If the first expression is satisfied true, then you will print statement 1. Okay. Otherwise, then you will check else if expression 2, then you will print statement. If all of these are not satisfied, then your last else block is your statement N. Else if is very similar to as your multi-way selectional statement itself or multi-way statement. So how do you draw the flowchart is simple. So first, same way it looks similar, some expression. Okay. If this is true, you have some statement 1. If this is false, you will have two things again. Let's take you have expression. Again, if this is true, you have some statement 2 printed. If this is false, okay, again you have some again expression. Again, if this is true, you have statement 3. If this is false, something, it goes on, you have some statement N. Like for example, you're finding for average or you are finding the result analysis of a student. So how do you write that is, suppose if your average is greater than 70, this is true, I will print the result of a student as distinction. Okay. Otherwise, if this is false, again I check for the another condition. Is average, just I'm giving you sample thing, you can modify it later. If this is true, you will print first class. Otherwise, if this is also false, then you go for average check as is average greater than 50. If this is true, I will print it as second class. Again, if this is false, I directly print, I don't want to check the condition, that last else block, I will print it as third class or it can be a failed student. Okay, this is the way how your else if ladder is going to work. Everyone understood about conditional control statements. Like you have your simple if, you will talk about if else, you will talk about nested if else, and then you will talk about else if ladder. For everything, you should definitely to write your syntax rule. You will draw the syntax flowchart, take one small example and write the program. That's all. For not for every concept, no need to write. Take one concept and write. Like you take the finding the largest of two numbers or something, then you write. If he doesn't mention you any program, write this program or that program, that is very good choice. You can use any simple program to explain the concept. Anyone has any doubt with this concepts of conditional control statements? If not, I'll go for the next one. So the next one is selection control statement. In selection control, so in selection control statement, we are talking about what? Selection control statement, we are talking about switch case. Okay, so switch case is also called as multi-way selectional control statement. Okay, so when you are explaining about switch statement, you will talk, it is a multi-way selectional statement and you have to write the syntax. Syntax for switch block, how your syntax will be there, switch followed by some expression. This expression can be a variable, it can be a value or any constant. Then you have case. Don't write 1, 2, 3. You will mention it as a label name. Label name, colon. Then you have some statements. You can have multiple if you want. Then you can have break. Okay, then again you have case, label name, then you have statement 2, then you'll have break. After all this, the last one is your default, then you have statement. Okay, this is the syntax of your switch. Switch always takes your expression as input. This expression can be a value, it can be a constant, or it can be any parameter input. It can be character or it can be an integer. Always your label names. Label names can be a constants. Label names can be a character constants, or it can be an integer constants, or you can also use some operators. Okay, for this, for example, how your syntax will be there now, uh, we'll have like this. I mean, your flowchart is switch also will represent with diamond, that is nothing but rhombus symbol. Switch of ch. What are you checking here? Yes, what are we checking here? We are checking for the label name. Okay, you will write your label name here. Okay, if it matches, you are going to execute that statement 1. Again, you have multiple things here. Label 2. If this matches, then you are going to execute statement 2. Okay, so on. Default is here. This is your default block. Statement n. So if statement 1 is executed, you will execute that and then you are going to stop. If statement 2 is executed, you will execute it and stop. Either of this only happens, only one. Okay, that your label name you'll write. If ch equals to 1, here you'll write ch is equals to 2. Here you are going to mention what is your choice. If this is default, then your statement n is executed and then you are going to stop. This is about your switch case. Like just I want to show one example. So in switch case, I can write like this: switch of some a case 4 printf hello. Then I can write break case 3 printf by, then break, then default printf invalid. So your switch of a, what is the value of a? 4. So it will match this case and 4 is your label name. So as 4 is present, so you get your message as hello. Something like it. Okay. So you get the message as hello. So you can have your label names like this. You can have 4. I can even write 2 plus 2. This is correct. Even I can write here 4 into 2. This will work. Okay. Now I gave a value is 4. So 2 plus 2 constant values, it will take it as 4 and you get hello still. Or else I'll do one thing. I'll take here as b. Okay. So you get by. This is possible. This is correct statement. You can use in case label names like this, but you can't use like this. 2.5, these floating point constants not allowed. Even you can't use strings. You can't use this, but you can use like this. You can use a single character constant like case plus. If your input is plus, you print hello. So here I'll pass plus. Okay, let's not do like this. This. So as it is character, I can do this. Okay. So now, okay, B. So I can get hello here. Okay, these are allowed. These are the allowed syntax rules for switch case. So tomorrow we have iterative models. We'll complete that and we'll start with functions concept and we'll proceed. In for coming units, you have less theory. Only unit, I'll just inform you which programs you have to prepare so that which can be expected in your JNT exam. Hope all of you are clear with these things. If any doubts, you can ask me in personal. I have already shared you my WhatsApp number. Okay. Any doubts with today's concept? Okay. So try already unit 1, chapter 1 and chapter 2 are been shared. Kindly go through that concepts so that it will be more helpful. Okay. Thank you all. Have a nice day.